you know how much those people would have contributed to the national development? Do you know where their children are now? Do you know where their wives are? Do you know that most of them lost their mothers and parents? They died already. They were the breadwinners. Uncle, auntie, mother, they died. So now, why should we smoke on that opium? They keep you hopeful till you die. Why don't you tell us the truth, Rugarama, that no, this is how we are going to lead ourselves. Leadership is like a monarch. The Kabaka of Uganda has no competition. The Omukam of Toro has no competition. The Omukam of Rwenzururu has no competition. The Omukam of Busoga, you know that for me, I am born a subject. I concentrate on development and contributing to my kingdom. You are not part of the contest. No. Like now for me, I have no hope that I will ever become a king of Toro because I'm not a royal. So that context is closed for me. The 1.4 billion Africans, not South Africans. You get it? So when it arrives in South Africa, you say it is our money. But what is the source of your money? Those ones you want to chase them away. When you chase them away, and they also chase you away, do you continue receiving this money? The answer is no.
They want the egg. They want the eggs, but they don't like the hen that lays the eggs. So when the hen is just away,
they think dies, the eggs. They think they remain with their eggs. But you have chased the hen that lays them. So that is the mindset that they have created.
It's a dangerous one.
They don't understand still that it is the same white man who is showing them that these are the problem. But they forget that it is the white man who is actually enabling these illegal immigrants to access South Africa. Why? Because they want cheap labor in their factories. You cannot employ a native South African and pay him less because they have very strong workers' unions. They will come for you. But you can pick Iruma from here and you pay him quarter of what you would have paid the native South African, and he is okay. You get it? And he will do the work. So when all those leave, do you think the South African companies, factories, industry will continue production at the same rate? Do you think so? When the production reduces, do you continue receiving these $440 billion that you are talking about, that it belongs to you, that you want us to leave so that you can divide it amongst yourselves?
I don't know who is advising the South Africans. These brothers and sisters of ours.
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The Pan-African Pyramid Roundtable with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe. This morning of Monday, 29th June 2026, we are seated at Central Hotel in Kisasi. 29th of August, exactly a month from now. This is June 29th, now 29th August. This year, we'll be having the 9th Pan-African Pyramid Group Awards and 12th anniversary bonfire dinner at the Speaker Resort Munyonyo. Book your ticket right now by calling these numbers. You can e-ticket you, wherever you are, you can send your ticket and you'll be part of this historical event. Comrade Daniel Garama Kachiko, I've already taken a seat on the other side of the table. Comrade, welcome.
It's always a pleasure, my brother.
How have you been?
Well, this Uganda is becoming interesting now.
Why?
Because the press is getting a beating once again, where we thought that Uganda had metamorphosized
at the past, that belonged to the past.
To another level.
Now it has been brought forward.
We are still seeing the closure of the NTV, the entire
NMG.
The media center, is it the National Media Group is on fire in Uganda, and we are seeing women activists up in arms because of senior citizen Honorable Miriam Matembe. We are seeing the trial, is it the prosecution or persecution of the Lord Mayor Elias Rukwago, then the uproar from the European bar community, the East African Law Council. You are aware that not long ago, our president, Comrade Isaac Semakade Chimaze, declared via an executive order a sit-down strike for all of us, the lawyers, and it took immediate effect. So you can see, like my senior brother Piero Rumba usually says, Uganda is not at ease in many aspects. We yesterday attended service, and you could see even the intercession. You know, sometimes I have to go and talk to God. Talk to God. God is everywhere, but there's where it is agreed by consensus that we congregate and communicate to Him. So you could see that the mood was really very somber, and I think going forward, something must be done in order to go back to the very tenets upon which NRM came to power, and for the last about 40 years, what NRM has been fighting for and practicing, although with, of course, some challenges here and there, but I don't think that where we are now, in a number of aspects that I have mentioned and others not mentioned, generally speaking, if one is not to be intellectually dishonest, it is not where we, especially in the movement, and any Ugandan for that matter, who is fighting for the rule of law, who is interested in the peaceful, calm Uganda, who is an integrationist spirit of East Africa, who is a Pan-Africanist, who we are anyway, would be comfortable with what is obtaining. It is a worrying situation. All senior citizens have come out to comment, not just yesterday, but some time back. And I think going forward, that as a country, and NRM taking the lead, we need to come out strongly, and we have a conversation.
But let me ask you, Comrade Rugarama, now for you, you have you are putting on two hats. One is that you're a Pan-African.
Yes, absolutely.
But number two is that you're a senior lawyer.
Yes.
Now, in the context of Pan-Africanism, Comrade Rugarama, since we went into multipartism, elective politics, since we went into this multi-party politics, vis-a-vis when we were one movement system, 1986 to 1996, in the Pan-African context, this multipartism is a type of democracy that is a hybrid from somebody, bringing it into Africa, that we must practice it. However, there has never been a very serious contestation on who is the head, the cultural head of Buganda. That Kabaka has ruled for ages. When he goes, his son comes up. When he goes, another Kabaka comes up. In Toro, we even had a king as young as 3 years taking over the throne. 3 years. But those that were throning him were 90, 80, 70, 60 years. They are the ones enthroning the 3-year-old Umukam of Toro. When you look at the chronological order of all the kings of Toro, the contestation has always been amongst themselves. When you go to Dubai here, UAE, the natives of UAE have never bothered to know who is the president of UAE. Their concentration is always where the services. When you go to the hospital, when you go to the roads, when you go to education, when you go to security. That has been their issue. Because they understood, they chose their own model of leadership. The rest are at par. Now, when you come to Uganda, somebody has given you some opium and convinced you that any family there can emerge a president of Uganda. That's the opium they have given us. So even you here, even Kamuntu, even Kasozi, even me, I am working hard towards achieving a dream that maybe at one day our family will produce a president. But actually, those in power, they also have a roadmap that the leader will always come from us. You get the point? The leader will always come from us. In fact, right now as we speak, it is very clear who could be the next leader. Whether you like it, the rest of the 50 million Ugandans or not, there is an upcoming leader. After that upcoming leader, there is already another leader in Sandhurst right now. There is a leader being molded in Sandhurst right now. You get a bit comrade. Now, my argument is, why don't we accept the truth and save the millions of the millions of lives we are losing, born and unborn? If you go to jails of Uganda right now, 98% of those inmates is political.
Dissent,
yes,
which is criminalized.
Now that is human capital put to waste. That is in America. Last time I was in Burkina Faso, there is an American young guy who was telling me a story that in America, one of the tricks they have been using up to today, in order to reduce on the black population, they actually make every part where majority are blacks, they make them look like hot spots for crimes. So they come at one night, they sweep, they even knock your door and open, and they take you to prison. They take you to police. From there, Uganda serve 6 months, 5 years, 3 years. And that's why they said they know that when you spend 2 or 5 years in prison, they have curtailed your production capacity. They have put you out of circulation. So they know that you will not produce. You get it? So they subjugate you in that way. So you find that prisons are full of mainly black Americans who have committed no crime. So he said that has been one of the ways they manage the African population. Yes, when you're on the road and a white man just shouts at you, instead of asking why he shouted at you, no, you first go to police. Then the man comes to explain why. But you will spend some week.
Just like I've said,
Now
is one of the most unsafe places.
Yes. So now, when you look at the human capital now in prison, there are people who were jailed in 2021 when they were crossing to Kalangala. You remember that Kalangala?
Is it Kalangala?
Yes. Those people who were arrested when they landed at Kalangala Island, the 2021 elections of Bobi Wine.
Okay.
They are still there. Do you know how much those people would have contributed to the national development? Do you know where their children are now? Do you know where their wives are? Do you know where do you know that most of them lost their mothers and parents? They died already. They were the breadwinners. Uncle, auntie, mother, they died. So now, why should we smoke on that opium? They keep you hopeful till you die. Why don't you tell us the truth, Rugarama, that no, this is how we are going to lead ourselves. Leadership is like a monarch. The Kabaka of Uganda has no competition. The Omukam of Tora has no competition. The Omukam of Rwenzururu has no competition. The Omukam of Busoga, you know that for me, I am born a subject. I concentrate on development and contributing to my kingdom. You are not part of the contest. No. Like now for me, I have no hope that I will ever become a king of Toro because I'm not a royal. So that context is closed for me. I will only go to Toro to complain that you are supposed to do ABCD for us, the subject, but you are not doing it. So I will complain. But I will not vie for leadership that I want to take over. No, I cannot. I can only maybe stand behind a crown prince.
The one you think can
exactly
serve you.
Yeah, but me, I cannot imagine. So that contest, Comrade Rugarama, was closed at birth. My contest for kingship of Toro, it was closed at birth. And I admitted I'm not a royal, I am going to be a subject. Why don't we do for the politics of Uganda also? In Europe, you don't hear, I mean here in Dubai, you will not find political prisoners in their prisons. Because that debate was closed a long time ago. When this one dies, another one emerges. That's all. Why are we really putting a contest where it cannot happen?
You see what happens? A number of things which you have really mentioned, and I will very quickly go through them. One is that politics is not static, just like society. Society keeps evolving. We admit that the kind of democracy we have, especially the electoral democracy, is such that the most competent, quote unquote, the most competent is voted by the electorate which is defined, and then he becomes a president for a period of 5 years, and his mandate or her mandate can be renewed by the population as the laws which are laid down, and that's where we are now. However, the African traditional society also had the other aspect which you talked about, that if you go to West Africa, there were kingdoms and chiefdoms. The entire Africa, actually, if you like, and the same applied in Europe, because be it in UK, be it in Spain, they are royals.
Yes.
They may not necessarily be wielding political power, but they have got some cultural influence. Now the Prime Minister, who is not a royal in UK, is the head of state. And is the one who runs the day-to-day activities of the country. The king now, Charles, the son to the late Queen of England, is the one who is in charge of the cultural duties. And that institution is untouched. And you elaborately, eloquently mentioned what the situation obtaining here in Uganda. All these kingdoms we have across in all these societies, even societies, by the way, which don't naturally, which didn't have these chiefdoms and what have you, somehow you will find either they diluted them, like in Kabari, but there was something like that really controlled society. Now, in the circumstances such as where we have got to republic, these are republics. A country like Uganda is a republic. It therefore excuses itself from this monarchism. That we can have, say, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni must keep being subjected to electoral democracy. every after 5 years, because that's what the Constitution says. And I think for you, and correctly so, you are coming up to say, look, what is the situation obtaining in Rwanda? Where there are accusations, for instance, that even when we talk about the electoral democracy, people are literally whipped into going to bless the presidency. And the president who is there will keep there, now moving into 30 years and still counting. What is the situation in Cameroon? That the Afrophobia will keep being every after 5 years, the population is whipped into going to bless. What is the situation? Some people also make arguments, even here, back home here, that the population will be whipped into going to bless somebody who has been here for, say, the 40 years. That's the argument in some circles. Although that can be subjected to a lot of debate. There are some of us who believe that some of the leaders actually genuinely go into these elections and they win. There may be some 2-3 things that don't go right in an election, but at the end of the day, this is the kind of democracy that we have. Yes, not homegrown, but that's what we have, and we try to make the best out of it. However, where we get situations where we find that the presidents want to deliberately create special arrangements for their biological offsprings, man or woman, and to take advantage or even to create those advantages for their biological children, is the argument where I want to join issues with you, that your argument is credible because it is written in so many parts of the world, but it is prominent on the African continent. That when we have a situation whereby some presidents have created a culture of bringing their biological children or relatives to take over after them, then how different are they from the monarchs that you have been mentioning? And I don't think that you are saying it with a light heart. You are saying it with a heavy heart, because it means that the due processes, the democratic practices have been prostituted and bastardized to the extent that it is no longer viable for us to argue that we have got a democracy which we should follow, because the democracy we should have followed has been is as good as the monarchy. I agree with you to that extent. Absolutely.
You say you join issues with
I do.
Legalistically. Yes, yes,
So therefore, for me, I know this is not our today's topic, but it's very important for us to talk about it, because I believe there is a huge audience out there that who listen to us and who take our word, who also think would want to be part of this discussion. So for me, my summary on this is that it is sad that we pretentiously accept a system when we know that we actually don't have
do not believe in it. Actually,
we don't have faith in it.
Very good. Now, you clearly brought out my argument when you say I am saying it with a heavy heart.
Yes, sure.
You read my mind. Yes, that is true. Why, comrade Garam? Me, I don't like pretense.
Unless that is what unfortunately that is where we are living in a highly pretentious society. We fight every day to dissociate ourselves.
That you don't believe in multipartism, but you have allowed it to thrive.
But do you know how we came to multipartism? If I may just a little bit take you back there. It's not that for us in NRM, I am not so old. For instance, I cannot compare myself just on account of age, of course, with the likes of, say, our revolutionaries who were in the bush, the Otafiles, the Tumukundes, the Tinyefuzas, the Miriam Matembes. Those ones were there on account of their age, certainly. Even if I wanted, I can't compete with them. They are the ones who brought this NRM. But what I'm saying is that when you look at when we became multi-party, of course, Uganda was multi-party even before NRM came into power. And we know the problems associated with multi-partyism. We tested them. So in the thinking of the founders of NRM, one system called movement system was adopted as the best political forum. And we did very well, if you remember. Until the time came when they started mounting pressure, as has always been the case since the Europe and people in America and elsewhere who think they are better human beings, and for us we should always be taking orders from them, came and started conditioning the money they advanced to us on the kind of political system we have here. That is when Museveni, the president, finally said, you remember his word, Katubejeko. Those who say for them they want to be to join parties, let them join parties. We are also going to remain in our movement, and we create it as a party, political party, and we shall beat them from there. That's what has happened. Now, what does that mean? We didn't go for a referendum whereby the people determined that we are a multi-party, we have gone back to multi-party dispensation. No, it was it was something that came out of pressure.
If my history serves me well, there were two referendums. One is that the entire population said, no, we need to remain in our movement system. After some time, they held another referendum, which now said, okay, let us go multi-partyism. But of course, that was now in the background, also influenced by the sitting government.
That's what I'm saying. That now, at the end of the day, who said what and against what?
So now my part is in the Pan-African context that the 10 years we had experienced good governance under the one system, under the movement system. We shouldn't have been coerced by any external forces on account of funding, their grants, their work, for us to accept what does not work for us as Africans. You see, Comrade Rugarama, there is a way you have managed to handle your family to remain at peace, all your children to go to school, to be able to attain education, to attain medical care, to attain shelter, to attain clothing, and so on. There is a system you have in your home. And that system, Rugarama, has worked for you because they've never had any eruption from your family. So it means your system, whether you don't have equal rights with your woman, with your wife and children, you are the supreme leader. Your wife is the deputy. The children are the last. Whether that system has brought peace in your family. When I'm coming to support you, Rugarama, that you have asked Irumba to support you on anything, I should support you on your system, not on mine.
That's not how capitalism works.
No, that's the danger. That when I come to Rugarama, I say, Rugarama, I'm going to give you this money, but can you do this? No, me, I want you to support me on my system.
It doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
The unfortunate thing is that our politicians also, because they are money-minded, they are hungry, the white man knows that if you want to change that man's mindset, if you want to change his system, he should first attach money. So he comes with billions of money, he splashes in your eyes, he says, by the way, if you go this way, this is what you will get. You get it? So even you yourself, you start playing around on how to adopt to a system and get the money. As you adopt, and get his money. He's driving you away from your actual leadership codes that have held you together for decades and taking you to his own goalpost. This is how
ideological bankruptcy we
yes,
talk about.
this is how homosexuality and LGBTQIZ you can add on, because they have never ended. They are always, after adding another letter, they add plus. They expect another one to come tomorrow. Have you realized those guys? At first was LBTQ, they added I. Now they have put a plus. So in the future there can be an S or something. How they managed to penetrate Africa is that they knew you cannot sell that stupidity on dry lips. So they attached money. And this South Africa today telling us that you have a deadline. South Africa has been the epicenter of supplying all those sorts of wrong things in our society. LGBTQ.
They even have it in their laws.
Yes.
That it is allowed. It is okay.
Yes. Why? Because LGBTQIZ. So why? Because their society, the white man in South Africa, although he's 80%, but he's controlling everything that happens in society by 80%. So it was easy for the white man in America and the UK to penetrate South Africa. And now because South Africa is the second largest economy, and also in terms of population, so it was easy now to use the network of South Africa to spread across Africa. You get it? They used South Africa as an epicenter of every stupidity to bring into Africa from Europe and America. So they know also that South Africans, they want free money. Free money. You know, naturally they don't want to work, but they want good life. So these people know that their problem is money.
That is also created, by the way. You remember when you started with the example of America?
Yes.
The American society, the leadership, creates an atmosphere where they will indicate that the black community are inherently by DNA a criminal society. What happens in South Africa is that there is an invisible hand, and when we mention some of these things, we are choosing for externalizing our problems. That Africans tend to push our problems as if they are coming from outside the Africa. No, that is not true. The truth is that still it obtains that in South Africa they have systematically been denied where they can exercise the realization of self and the identity, and now they think that everything good must come from white man because that's what they are used to the extent that they have been pushed away from realizing that the enemy is not their fellow African, this Afrophobia, and they are now looking, they would rather bring closer a different race, the white man, and push away a fellow African person, and that is normal to them. No amount of persuasion, convincing, or argument will dissuade them from that belief, which is very unfortunate. I believe that's where we are going.
Yes, that's the topic. So you realize that South Africa is being used as an epicenter for every wrong thing. They begin it from South Africa. Why? Because they realize South Africans are not in control of the economics. So they have made them comfortable that let the white man use their land 80%, put up factories, put up industries, put up pharmaceuticals, run companies, MTN, Stanbic, and so on, then collect the money and feed them. That's why one of the arguments of one of these leaders of Afrophobia is saying, in his argument, they know that you heard that, he was saying, do you know that if these illegal migrants went back to their countries, South African government would be capable of looking after us, putting on our bank accounts every month about 3 million for us to eat?
They think South Africa can be a welfare state.
Hey.
They don't want to work.
That's what they said. Hey. They said they divided the amount of money, the amount of money, 440 billion, divided by actual South African natives. They said, do you know that we can get 3 million per month from the government.
That is weak reason.
So it tells you that they are comfortable being fed like birds.
Yes.
And but who has created that?
Exactly.
The white man
created that?
The white man wants to go and work, and then makes you comfortable that don't worry, government will feed you. That's why one of their problems is that when we go to the hospital to look for free medicine, we find that an illegal immigrant has taken the medicine.
Which is
so you go so that we can access this free medicine. Their brain, their argument is on free services, not working for them.
There is one thing.
But they forget, comrade, before you come, they forget that this 440 billion US dollars you're talking about is not from your actual economy in South Africa. You have turned 1.4 billion Africans into your market. So this money is coming from the 1.4 billion Africans, not South Africans. You get it? So when it arrives in South Africa, you say, it is our money. But what is the source of your money? Those ones you want to chase them away. When you chase them away, and they also chase you away, do you continue receiving this money? The answer is no.
They want the egg. They want the eggs, but they don't like the hen that lays the eggs. So when the hen is just away,
they think dies, the eggs. They think they remain with their eggs. But you have just the hen that lays them. So that is the mindset that they have created.
That's a dangerous one.
They don't understand still that it is the same white man who is showing them that these are the problem. But they forget that it is the white man who is actually enabling these illegal immigrants to access South Africa. Why? Because they want cheap labor in their factories. You cannot employ a native South African and pay him less because they have very strong workers' unions. They will come for you. But you can pick Iruma from here and you pay him quarter of what you would have paid the native South African, and he's okay. You get it? And he'll do the work. So when all those leave, do you think the South African companies, factories, industry will continue production at the same rate? Do you think so? When the production reduces, do you continue receiving this $440 billion that you're talking about that belongs to you, that you want us to leave so that you can divide it amongst yourselves?
I don't know who is advising the South Africans. These brothers and sisters of ours, the history we have is very different from the kind of history we are witnessing. The South Africa, as a country, is occupied traditionally by very hospitable people. The Khoi, the San, the Zulu, the Xhosa, etc. They are extremely very hospitable people. Even when you look at the entry of the Dutch, the Boers, and how they perceived these societies, because they were welcome, and the people who were welcome took advantage of the goodness of the people they found there, and they created that apartheid government for so many years. And the history of South Africa is very well known through the lenses of apartheid. Instead, even when there is a more beautiful history that is not talked about. Now, it was the duty of Africa, and even beyond, I have always argued here and away, that countries far beyond the continent of Africa, which some African countries had crystallized themselves in the frontline states, even non-members of the frontline states, they are like Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Mozambique. We had Uganda, which was never a member of the frontline state, and yet it contributed immensely to the training of the fighting arm of the ANC. Now, a man like historically, a man like senior comrade Thabo Mbeki has eloquently explained to his fellow South Africans and the entire Africa and the world at large how South Africans, these ones who are practicing Afrophobia, are making a very serious tactical and strategic mistake. There is no way South Africa can create an enclave economy. They cannot stand on their own and remain the way they are. That's why we come up to argue that away from what my senior comrade in the Pan-African ranks, Piero Lumumba, calls the Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome is whereby you hate people who you should love, and you love your enemies. Our brothers and sisters in South Africa are suffering from the Stockholm Syndrome. That it is in South Africa, away from the Zionist state of Israel, where we have got, even up to now, actual apartheid. It is still existing. They have got, is it the Orange state, whereby a black person cannot step there. It is only the white people, they love being called whites, although their color is not white. But anyway, in order for them to be happy, let's just say they are whites. Okay. And for purposes of this discussion, these whites or Caucasians created a state in South Africa. I even hear the name South Africa. Can they get a name, a proper name? They call themselves South Africa. So what is that? South Africa.
Of Africa.
It's no
That's
name.
not the This is what Ambassador Victor Kambra was saying here last week. There is Uganda, there is Kenya, there is Tanzania, there is Rwanda, there is Zimbabwe, there is Zimbabwe, there is Zambia, there is Eswatini. I mean, so what is South Africa? Yes, your geographical location is south of Africa. But what is your name?
What's your name? You can't describe yourself. What's your name?
There is Ethiopia. There is Sudan. There is South Sudan. There is Niger. There is Mozambique.
Yes, South Sudan itself.
Address is Sudan. Address is Sudan. But there is Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso means the land of the incorruptible.
Yes.
The land of the upright people.
Yes,
there is Niger. There is Zambia.
Nigeria.
There is Morocco.
Yes.
There is Nigeria.
Algeria.
There is Algeria. What is your name, you South? You people who stay at the south part of Africa. You people who are at the south part of, what is your name?
So
this is what Kambra Milton was saying.
Absolutely. And I agree with Milton. So therefore, this Stockholm Syndrome, whereby a preparation, you have to go back to what, for instance, Malcolm X says in his very powerful speech about the House Negro and Field Negro. In the House Negro, he said that the Negro loves the master than he even loves himself. If the master is sick, the Negro says, we are sick. If the master's house is on fire, the Negro says, has got to make sure that
our house is on fire.
Our house is on fire, we must put the fire out. But the Negro does not own this house, he's the master. The same thing, the South African economy, which needs liberation, which our brother Julius Malema has been fighting to do, does not belong to the actual South Africans. You have just eloquently stated here. I will add that, look, even the Woolworth, the MTN, the ShopRite, the Standard Bank, etc., these companies may be hailing from South Africa, but they are not for the South Africans. If South Africans, quote unquote, is to be looked at in the lenses of the typical African person. They are for that 8% you are talking about. The 8% economy, which controls 80% of the South African economy, is in the hands of the 8% who are not native South Africans.
8% population.
Yes.
8% population who are the people are in charge of 80%. of the South African economy.
Very unfair as it is, but that is the truth. For me,
so my brother, before you come,
yes.
So if you are a native South African, if 80% of your population is in charge of your 80% economics, Comrade Rugarama, who should be our first enemy as South Africans?
First of all,
is it the illegal immigrants?
You see, there is nothing like, let me look at it from the Pan-African point, like you are asking me. From the Pan-African point of view, you cannot accuse somebody who moves from a sitting room and he goes to the bedroom and you say you have crossed a boundary and you are illegally here. You cannot accuse somebody who has been in the compound who now goes to the sitting room and you say, no, for you, you need the paper to be here. Just like I disagreed entirely with, from the Pan-African perspective, with the Porter's report in the DRC, that you are going to excuse the great-grandchildren of Leopold II, you are going to excuse Belgium and all the people that hail from there for the activities in Congo and now DRC. You are going to excuse the Europeans and the North Americans, especially United States of America, from the continued exploitation of the resources of South Africa, I mean of Congo, and then you will come to Uganda, you Porter, and you write a report, and you take Uganda to International Court of Justice, and you say you pay these so many billions of dollars simply because you are plundering Congo. Uganda, we cannot plunder our brother. If I put on your shirt, Comrade Rumba, I am having my shirts, my brother's shirt. If you put on my coat, you are having your brother's coat. There is no way Uganda can steal from DRC. Instead, it is the American, it is the Belgian, it is the English that can come and steal from us here in Uganda and steal in DRC. For us, we are brothers. We just borrow from each other without even asking. I don't need to ask you anything. That is the African perspective. Now, we must subject ourselves to our own homegrown justice system. And that's where we are getting it wrong. And that's where the South Africans are getting it wrong. These South Africans you see, and I saw you with their team from the embassy.
South African embassy.
I am going to be with them this week, and you can trust that I'm not going to change my talk. What I'm talking here on, and I'm very sure they are very keen, they usually watch our programs, is what I'm going to repeat to the ambassador and the team, that we are terribly embarrassed. We know that they may not entirely be responsible for what is happening. It is very easy, by the way, for somebody to be persuaded away from a correct line of reasoning. South Africans, given the leadership itself, when we still had ANC as ANC, we had a very concrete ideology whereby they were even taking the Zionist state of Israel to international and they were wonders. Because I can assure you that the scores which they got, although of course Netanyahu and his former Minister of War, who were indicted and they are now wanted men, there are very few countries that are going actually to do what? To arrest such criminals. But I'm glad that there are others in Europe and elsewhere which, upon the simple sight of Netanyahu, they are going to arrest him and deliver him to the ICC. And I hope you know that even the judges, even the prosecutor, they were declared persona non grata under Trump's regime in America. Now it is your America which tells you that they uphold the rule of law and their justice system is impeccable and that their human rights record is unmatched and they are an utopian model of democracy. All that is wrong. It is a bubble. It's a lie because autocracy is synonymous with the United States political leadership. But at the end of the day, what are we saying? Afrophobia, with all the ripple effects that so far are being derived from this Afrophobia, is a story that one must take, and Pan-Africanists, we must be on the leading line. We should be interrogating. We should be asking hard questions. We should be investigating. Is it really true that the South African government under Cyril Ramaphosa and the colleagues, now that they were infiltrated by the DA because they couldn't form a government, and that also must be interrogated, when did the ANC reach a point whereby they could not garner enough support from the Wananchi to form a government? How did they come to that level? And when we realize that the combination of therefore factors that led them not even to form a government back home, we must realize that somebody who is no longer invisible, like we used to say, is the one who is controlling activities behind the curtains to make sure that we fail them politically, fail the Africans politically, make the Africans in South Africa dislike their very own, such that the shining example which South Africa had become is melted away. It is the business of a Caucasian, racist Caucasian. It is his business to make every shining example on the African continent fail. Why? Because our race must be depicted as incapable, corrupt, inherently weak, intellectually challenged, so that when the white man comes and presents himself as the finder of solutions, provider of democratic governance, we do not question. That is the intention. And whoever has not seen that, and you see the problem I have with some
not with me.
No. You are not part of that pack. The problem I have with some of these people of ours who have trained in these universities, even here, by the way, because our universities are captured, our education system, even right from primary up to university, is also problematic. Some of us, by the way, the likes of Irumba, Rugaramazi, and what have you, we are not very good examples of the kind of education system that the Caucasian implements by his macro-economic policies through the Bretton Woods institutions back home here. No, the things we say, what we do, gospel we preach is very different from what we are trained to be imparting to the rest of the people. Therefore, for us, it comes to a point whereby the white man does not have to come and fight the way he used to fight during the colonial rule. He must train, he must capture governments. If there's ANC and the DA is a government in South Africa, it must be captured. You will have a Ramaphosa who is dark in color, but who is captured intellectually, and his actions are controlled. He is no longer himself. That he can allow a group of Maruda. Do you think the same would have happened if Thabo Mbeki was the president? It wouldn't. Why? Simply because Thabo Mbeki refused to be part of the what one would call comprador. These are the compradors. The Cyril Ramaphosa are the white man's compradors. They are here, but in actual sense, they are the proper products of the Caucasian way of wanting things to happen here on the African continent. I told you, finally, South Africa has got certain minerals, which, for instance, all the leadership, be it Trump's leadership, who is interested, he's a businessman, and he's surrounded by businessmen. They have got very rare minerals in South Africa. You know, South Africa is one of the biggest mining countries on the continent, and these resources are wanted elsewhere because they believe they are the ones who are entitled to have these resources. For you are not entitled. It is by accident that they are in your continent. But you must, yes, it's by accident that they are in your continent. The owners must be some other people very different from you. And in order to have that properly implemented, they must get a leadership which looks like you. I can assure you, somebody said at African Union that about 47% or even half of the presidents on the African continent are actually American and other
the American and French.
M6, Mossad, CIA, intelligence agents. And it is through your democracy, which you think is your democracy, that brings such presidents here. And you think you have got a continent. And that is as part of our work. Before we leave, we transition from this life to another life. It is part and parcel of our work to make sure that we get rid of such leaders. And we establish a system where the true African person is the one in charge of political, socio-economic leadership to translate these benefits for the common good of the wananchi on the continent. It is a hard battle. It is not a walk in the leisure park. The Julius Maremas of this world must be fought at all costs, including passing a judgment that he should be in prison for 5 years. You see, simply because when they take 5 years out of his political life, they would have dented completely his energy and all that he stood for. And Julius Malema is not alone. We are very many in that category.
Very good. Now, as we wind up in a few minutes, I wanted to comment on the fact that President Museveni, a real Pan-African, a man who actually offered the entire Uganda to ANC soldiers, Kawaweta here, a man who has actually okayed the. You have been to Kawaweta. You're the one who told me this thing. Sure. Even when we were at the Pan-African Movement Square at the square, there is a monument of ANC soldiers and their names. You're the one who was explaining to me those things.
Yes.
What is in the mind of President Museveni now sending a plane to evacuate Ugandans back to Uganda from South Africa?
Remember,
President Museveni has sent a plane. He has ordered those that are in trouble to return.
Remember, he had a conversation with Cyril Ramaphosa. And the Museveni we know, whose unfortunately, whose historical importance to the continent and the country is being dented by what is happening now. We hope that is overcome anytime soon. Could not have entertained Ramaphosa on a cup of tea, and they could not have just talked about the Ankole cattle without having a serious conversation about this Afrophobia. He's sending the plane to evacuate Ugandans back home, those who are willing. I had the acting Minister Foreign Affairs, Kasoro, say, is in line with what almost every African government is doing. They have agreed that they are going to evacuate their people, bring them back. I was on Zoom last night with the State Minister of Liberia for diaspora. They are also going to do the same thing. But they are planning. There is a meeting, African Union, whereby they are going to treat South Africa as a special category until they adhere to certain agreed terms. Because, like I said, what is happening, this issue of Afrophobia in South Africa should not be looked at with short, naked eyes as something that is coming from a group of people who are actually themselves. These people are under capture. Somebody is influencing this enterprise. And the area will wake up to the reality that this is the game plan, that the enemy of Africa has always used divide and rule, have the people who should be coming together. It is not in the best interest of the imperialists for Africans to be together. It is not in the best interest of the imperialists to have big brothers providing a leading example in South Africa, in Nigeria. Any opportunity that can be captured by the enemy and utilized against the formation and intensification of unity of the African is going to be grabbed. And we are seeing it in the Afrophobia obtaining in South Africa.
Very good. Now, I read Pierre Lumumba. Actually, I think Pierre Lumumba has gone a step higher already. As they organized that African Union meeting, Pierre Lumumba 2 days ago mobilized the entire African governments to pass a very strong message, including on fast, because the deadline is 30th June. So,
which is just tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So starting Wednesday, they are going to begin their actions on Africans. So Lumumba is saying all African governments, as those people start sending our brothers back home, all African governments should also start sending, beginning with their ambassadors. All South African ambassadors in all African countries should first be sent back home, so that they go and meet their commander and sit down and start discussing the problem together. From sending the ambassadors, when the ambassadors from all these countries go and talk to their leaders in South Africa and they don't take action, the next phase should be now sending their companies. You get it? All South African companies across Africa should be sent home, so that you add on the ambassadors, you add on the CEOs of those companies in all African countries, they go also and meet their leaders. Sending South Africans living in other parts of Africa should be the last resort. But first, you send the first signal, the ambassadors. Second, we send the companies. We send the CEOs of those companies, MTN, Stanbic Bank, Woolworth, Game Store. Talk about these mining companies. They have this. The women of those days. Let all the EDs go and meet their president in South Africa, including the ambassadors, and say, please, there is this problem where I have been working. How do we resolve it? Then the leaders now will have an option but to sit down and resolve it. How do you see? That is Pierre Lumumba.
First and
I also, I agree with you.
You should join issues.
Yes.
I completely join issues with Pierre Lumumba, not out of respect for my senior in the Pan-African ranks, but clearly out of the fact that he's a sport on. He's communicating to heads of states in Africa. Is not the first one, but what is critical is that there is such a thing in international relations as diplomatic protest note, and I think we shall be sending a diplomatic protest note to the leadership in Johannesburg that it is not a one-way ticket. What you do to me, I also have got capacity to do it to you. Remember at one time when they deported Nigerians. The plane landed at Thambonbek International Airport, and they said no, they packed it, that you go back, and they went back to Nigeria. Only for Nigeria immediately to get the plane that was coming, bringing majority of South Africans to Nigeria, and they also sent them back to Johannesburg. They just did for that, and they looked at each other. That's how it was sorted out. And I think what Pierre Lumumba is proposing is not something that is out of this world. What we need to do, we shall know. You see, like Solomon judged the case of the two fighting mothers of a child. We shall know who is actually behind this Afrophobia. When we do that, we shall see who exactly is behind this Afrophobia thing. But bottom line is that what is important is that, look, there are many ways the Caucasian racist has always wanted to continue dividing Africa, and this is a continuation of his desire that he initiated in 1884-85 at the Bahrain. He has never stopped. He has continued to devise ways and means of how he can tap into our resources, and if that means that he uses, they say that it is less costly, he uses a fellow African to kill, fight, kill his other African brother and sister, which is going to be less costly than if the white man was to come here and do it himself. He's going to go for that line.
Thank you very much, comrade. And on that note, South Africans, we've recorded this show on Monday morning on 29th. Today is 29th, isn't it?
Yeah,
29th. Monday morning. Just one day to your deadline. This is what is going to happen to you, South Africans. First, President Museveni has sent a plane to pick those who are in trouble. The day those Ugandans in trouble in South Africa arrive at Entebbe airport, we are going to command as Pan-Africans across the continent. We are not going to chase the South Africans from any other part of Africa. No. These are our brothers.
Because they are home.
They are at home. After last week, I had a very good lunch with the members of the South African High Commission in Uganda.
Yes.
They are my brothers. Comrade Ibn Williams, we had good lunch. But the plane that will pick Ugandans from South Africa, when it arrives at Entebbe, it will not go back. It will wait for, number one, the ambassador of Uganda,
The
and
ambassador of South Africa to Uganda.
Yes. Then, when he goes, 1 week later, if the ambassador of Uganda, the ambassador of Rwanda, the ambassador of all the ambassadors of South Africa to these other 53 countries, if the reach in South Africa and Ramaphosa does not listen and his government, 1 week later, the same plane will now pick all the MDs of all South African companies. So every plane that will deliver other natives from South Africa, when it lands there, it should go back with the managers of South African companies. Yes.
The Woolworth.
When you send Comrade Rugarama, with one hand, be ready to receive with another hand. So when you send our brothers home, be ready to receive your ambassador back home, be ready to receive your companies, MTN, Stanbic Bank, Woolworth, Game Stores, Maltese, DSTV. Yes.
And then we shall see how they will rank that.
When the managers, the MDs, arrive in South Africa, and then you have 53 ambassadors from the other 53 countries of Africa, they sit in a meeting with their president and the entire government. They discuss. If they fail to understand the problem back where they have been, then we will know there is a bigger problem and we shall also find a solution. For now, for us, we have no problem with any South African living anywhere.
You go ahead.
Go ahead.
What you want to do.
But since your problem is that other Africans are taking your jobs, please, when you send them back home, they also need those jobs. Isn't it? They need their jobs at home. If he has been a cleaner in South Africa and you have been an MTN here, when he comes here, he needs that job of MTN. So MTN will go, then the nation can start their own telecom company, then employ those Ugandans. And if they cannot start another telecom company, it's okay. Let's go back to Stone Age era. It's okay. But there is WhatsApp, there is Facebook, there is YouTube. We shall communicate. We can still communicate.
Yeah, we have so many alternatives.
So there are alternatives. But the point is, South Africa, they think of thinking that this 440 billion US dollars is your money. You are not an enclave economy. Enclave. No, it's not you are alone. It's not. Even America, that says this is the biggest economy in the world, isn't it? That money is not theirs. Tell them to close all their borders. They should not trade with any other person, and we see. Why are they in Ukraine? Why are they stealing oil in Venezuela? Why are they stealing oil in Iran?
What about huge
why are they saying they should open? Why are they saying they should open the Strait of Hormuz? What do you want to trade? When did you put that oil there? It is not your oil.
What about the amounts they owe China?
Yes. So there is no country that is an island. So please, South Africa, Slowly. Go slow.
They should hurry
Go
slowly.
slow. They should hurry slow.
They should hurry slowly.
Come on, cut the show. They should hurry slow.
Yes.
What type of language is that?
Should hurry slowly.
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.